Y'all, there is a crisis. Okay, fine. Maybe I'm being a bit exaggerative, but nonetheless, there's a lot of stuff popping off in the market right now, you all. So, we're just going to delve in. Okay, y'all, as you know, it's Stacks in the City. Hello, it's Ashley. Hello, welcome. Hello, I'm glad you're here. Hello, subscribe and rate. Wink. But, y'all, it's a crisis. So first of all, in case you don't know, we have been talking a lot about stocks that maybe you should consider investing in at this moment. Maybe you don't know anything about the stock market and you're interested in getting started. We've been talking about really fun sectors that could be great investments for you in the long run. We talk about cruise lines, hospitality, food, and we've also delved into the airline stocks. We've talked about all of those as potentially viable options. Now, again, guys, I am not going to tell you what stocks to invest in. I've said this multiple times and I will continue to say it. But my job is to provide you all with insight on exactly what you're investing in, why, if it's a good idea, if you're, all that fun stuff, especially if you're new. Now, guys, we talked a lot about stocks, particularly in the airline, obviously. We talked a lot about the airline industry. We talked that it could be a great investment because everybody needs something to fly. However, you guys, Warren Buffett, a.k.a. the Oracle of Omaha, a.k.a. one of the top 5 wealthiest men in the world, a.k.a. worth like $76 billion. I think he was worth more, but, the stock market's tanking. Nonetheless, the master, the wizard of investing has announced in a shareholder meeting on May 2nd that he is going to sell his 10% stake in the top 4, quote-unquote, big airline companies of the United States. Now, these big 4 are American Airlines, United Airlines, Southwest Airlines, and Delta Airlines. They pulled out of a 10% stake. Now, you all, this caused everybody to go berserk. People are going cray-cray. All right, should I sell? Oh my gosh, it's a crisis. What's going on? Oh my goodness, blah, 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 all that fun stuff. Now, you guys, okay, we want to know why that is. And what I'm going to do in today's episode is to break down exactly what all of this means, why is this announcement so relevant, and what we can do to move forward, and if we should keep any positions that we've had in the stock market with regarding airlines. Okay. We're woosawing right now. So what we're going to do today, you all, is provide a really big context about what's been popping off, what's happening, I'm shook, why everyone is shook, and what's it mean for us when we are investing. Before we get into all of the big news that was made, definitely in terms of Warren Buffett selling his stock in the airline company, in his stake in the airline company, I first want to get an overview of exactly who is Warren Buffett and exactly why is he relevant. Why is whatever he said matters? Like, who cares if this man is like, I really don't care about airline stocks anymore. Okay, guys. Warren Buffett is considered, not even, factual, y'all, one of the wealthiest people in the world. He has a net worth of $68 billion as of today, which is May 6th. But it's been more. Again, y'all, things are popping off weird, but long story short, the man is worth a lot of money. He is the 4th wealthiest man in the world, 4th wealthiest person in the world, with a net worth of $68 billion. And he earned his wealth truly through the stock market, through investing in the market. Warren Buffett is not a spring chicken. This man has been around a couple of times around the block. He was born in August 30th in 1930. So he has lived through a lot of market gains, market losses, a few depressions, a couple of recessions, and a partridge in a pear tree. The man has seen it all. Warren Buffett was born in Nebraska. He was born in Omaha. He comes from a relatively, I would say, a middle-class means. He did grow up through the Depression, which I think really does put a perspective on the way he does make his investments. I would consider him relatively conservative. The reason why he's become so wealthy is because of his strategy. He is a student of Benjamin Graham. He wrote the book called The Intelligent Investor. I'll have that in the description. And long story short, he does this shtick called value investing. Value investing basically means that he looks at stocks, he evaluates stocks based on a certain amount of criteria, and he picks them if they all fit into that criteria. So, for example, he basically finds stocks that are on sale. They're undervalued, stocks that are cheap. So it's like if you go to a store and you find a really fancy top on clearance, you know it's worth more than what they're selling it for. So you purchase the top on clearance. Warren Buffett basically picked every single stock based on what he thought was going to be on sale, drastically lower than it's worth, and he held it. He's a huge proponent of the buy and hold strategy. Basically, that means he purchases a stock and he keeps it for decades. Again, y'all, this man is no spring chicken. And he has made his money basically through that. Now, he has a company. The company is called Berkshire Hathaway. It is a company that he acquired in 1965. Again, y'all, no spring chicken. The company is considered a holding company, investment company. You all, basically what that means is that his job is to give money to very popular companies that we know of and funds them. So essentially, Warren Buffett owns a large stake in many, many, many of the companies that we are familiar with. And that includes, but is not limited to, American Express, the Geico Insurance Company, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, Dairy Queen, and Walmart. And it was airlines, but apparently not anymore. So the man knows his stuff. He has become wealthy because of that. I believe he became a billionaire in around 1990 under his 50th birthday. And he's continued building his wealth ever since. It's just exponentially continued to go up and up and up. The reason why Warren Buffett is so relevant is because he owns a huge stake in a lot of the companies that are based in America. He owns, like I said, American Express. He owns a piece of Coca-Cola. And these are large stock positions. It's big enough where when he says something, the company has to oblige. He owns the companies. Like really, he's an owner of many of the companies. So what he says is important. Also, his investing strategy has proven to work for him time and time and time again. Again, this man has become wealthy solely because of his wise investments in the stock market. That's it. That is it. He gets so much attention only because of his position in the stock market. Who knew? So as a result, Warren Buffett has become this really huge cult of personality type of thing. Everything he says gets a lot of hype. Everything is important. And that includes the annual shareholders meeting. What that means is basically every company, whether public or private, particularly your public companies, so the companies that you and I are allowed to invest in, we are also shareholders, y'all. We're mini Warren Buffetts. We are entitled to looking at the state of the company. Think of it as shareholder meeting, if you're into politics, as the State of the Union address. It basically gives you an overall glimpse of the company. It gives you what it's been doing for the year. It gives you highs and lows. And it tells you what they're going to be doing in the future to continue building and growing and expanding the company. Every company, every publicly traded company has this. However, some of your biggie companies are the ones that are particularly getting a lot of attention from regular mom and pop investors such as us and some, the OG ones as well. And this includes Warren Buffett and his company Berkshire Hathaway because of how successful his investing strategy has been. He gets a lot of attention. His annual shareholder meeting, you'll see regular smuggler people outside of the of his office building, like just waiting to hear. Like it's a big deal in that world for you to be able to go. It's like a finals game. I don't know. Maybe that's not right. Anyway, so that's why everything he says is so important. And the shareholder meeting that has happened. Warren Buffett does a really good job of staying connected with his other shareholders. So he has letters, and he's written these letters since 1977. I'm telling you, these annual shareholder meetings. And he has his annual in-person meeting to go over the state of the company. Now, are we with me so far, guys? I know that was a lot of information at once, but I really want you all to understand the context of who Warren Buffett is and why he's so important in the stock market investing world. That is essential. You have to understand that in order to understand why Warren Buffett says some cray-cray stuff. Anything he says is going to be important. Okay. All right. I'm presuming that y'all are with me. His shareholder meeting was 5 hours, and it was live streamed. It's actually available on YouTube, and I will have the shareholder meeting in the description box. Now, in his shareholder meeting, he gives this really big oratory speech about betting on America. Quote, "You can bet on America." It's a very, in my opinion, Manifest Destiny-esque version of our country, painting it to be this resilient piece of like American people. You could just bet on America, rah, which, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I was into it. I love America. Yeah, we got issues and all, but I love America and I love Warren Buffett because he cares about our people. Anyway, I digress. So the shareholder meeting this year, he really did break it down into 3 large portions. And in his shareholder meetings, he does like to give some context and add some advice. Like, he really does try to connect with regular people. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So his 3 points is that he's giving us this really big, he starts off with this huge, very beautifully painted picture of American know-how and resilience and patriotism. And then he breaks down Dow over the course of the past 50, 60, actually probably 80 years or so. He breaks down the Dow. And then he goes specifically into his stock position. So I like to think of it as an inverted pyramid. He first talks about how great this country is, and despite this crisis, we're still going to be great. Then he talks a little bit about, in general, the picture of the stock market and how it's worked historically. And then he hones in on specifically what he and his company are doing in context of the pandemic that has plagued our economy, and something that was completely out of our control, before coming to a very key conclusion of him losing money, selling his positions, his 10% stake in the big 4 airline companies. And you know what I love so much about his shareholder meetings is that, again, not only is he giving us an idea of his positions and exactly what his company is doing, but he also gives us regular schmegular people some little advice. So he tells us, you know, you don't know, you just, quote, "You just don't know what's going to happen, you know, at least in my view. You know that America's tailwind is not exhausted. You're going to get a fine result if you own equities over a long period of time." Y'all, he's just telling us to buy and hold. That basically what we're doing. And he's also saying, you know, quote, "buying a cross-section of America," end quote. You all, again, he's really telling us not to purchase individual stocks, but to purchase index funds within a certain industry. And I think I've spoken with a couple of people about this. Index funds are definitely the way to go. Index mutual funds, ETFs, are the way to go to build wealth in the long term. I want people to start purchasing 1 or 2 individual stocks just to get an idea of how the stock market works. But definitely index funds over a long period of time is how you build wealth. He's also giving us fun little anecdotes, somewhat of crazy farmer. Like, this man was just going ham. I'm not gonna lie. So it was super fun to read through his pages, to read through his transcripts, and really get an idea of what he's talking about. But again, we digress. Okay, guys, the 3 points that he made. Number 1, betting on America. Number 2, the state of the Dow Jones. And number 3, the state of his company, Berkshire Hathaway. Number 1, guys, he talks about how great America is. Long story short, this country is amazing. It's poppin'. Despite our 231 or so years of existence, we're still so amazing. Blah, 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 blah. It was just how great America was and how resilient we are. Despite the issues and the pitfalls that we've had, we're still great. Now, Warren Buffett does talk about the resilience of America, but he doesn't negate the issues that our country has. And as a minority, it's absolutely something I appreciated. He talks about the fact that despite our population during the end of the 19th century, that there were still 700,000 people who were enslaved, who looked like me, who were of African descent. He discusses the fact that there was a suffrage for women until the turn of the 20th century. He talks about how there's still a long way that we need to go and how difficult it can be a minority in this country. Having a person who is worth so much money acknowledge some of the issues, some of the social issues in our country, to me says a lot about who he is as a person. So that was great to hear. But nonetheless, he still delves into the resilience of America. And it's true, our country is, we are some hard-headed folks. And again, betting on America, he really does encourage us to invest in stocks that are American-born, American-made, with a little caveat, which of course we will get to in point number 3. But for now, we're going to talk about point number 2, which is the state of the Dow. Now, if you don't remember, the Dow Jones is basically the marker of how the entire stock market is doing. It's like a cross-section, if you will, of how the market's doing. These are 30 of the best stocks in America. And if the 30 best stocks aren't doing well, then you can best believe that the thousands and thousands of companies that are being traded on the stock market aren't doing well either. No one has time to track the little peon stocks, but we will be able to clock the HBICs of the stock market. You know what I'm saying? And that's essentially what the Dow is. He speaks about the Dow going down in 1954. He discusses the panic of 1987 and recently the recession of 2008 and 2001 as a result of the 9/11 attacks. He talks about that, and nonetheless, you were still able to recover from that. So he talks about the state of the Dow Jones. So basically, he's giving us this huge history of the stock market, including during the 1930s. He talks about the FDIC and how important that was in protecting the stock market. That's basically a government-backed insurance company. That's basically what it is. That's not important. We're not going to delve too much into that. But his last point, which is probably the money point, you guys, is really where he talks about his positions in Berkshire Hathaway, and particularly with what he decided to do as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Here is a direct quote from what he said during his shareholder meeting, y'all. Quote, "So we bought roughly 10% of the 4 largest airlines, and we probably... this is not 100% of what we did in April, but we probably paid $7 or $8 billion and somewhere between $7 and $8 billion to own 10. And of course, the airline business has no problem that if the business does not come back 70 to 80%, the aircraft doesn't disappear." So here is a transcript of what he said. "And somewhere between $7 and $8 billion to own 10% of the 4 large companies in the single airline business, and we felt for that. We were getting $1 billion roughly of earnings. Now we weren't getting $1 billion of dividends, but we felt our share of the underlying earnings was $1 billion, and we felt that the number was more likely to go up than down over a period of time. ... And we treated mentally exactly as if we were buying a business. And it turned out I was wrong about that business because of something that was not in any way the fault of the 4 excellent CEOs," end quote. And he continues to say, "I mean, believe me, no joy being a CEO of an airline, but the companies we bought are well managed. They did a lot of things right. It's a very, very difficult business because you're dealing with millions of people every day. And if something goes wrong with 1% of them, they are very unhappy." Blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then that was an end quote, so y'all saw. But after that was blah, blah, blah. Basically, y'all, what he's saying is because of things that are completely out of his control, out of America's control, the world's control, this is not a man-made accident, right? This is not a man-made issue. This is not something that's happened as a result of terrorism or as a result of market corrections or as a result of recessions because of people spending too much money on mortgages. This is something that has to do completely with an illness, with a disease that is spreading. And he decided to sell his positions because he doesn't see any recovery from these companies in the near or the long-term future in a while. He doesn't see that bouncing back immediately. Basically, he talks and he states that there's going to be a lot of aircrafts that are being retired, quote unquote. There's going to be a lot of empty aircrafts. He's saying that it's going to take a long time for people to want to travel again. And they're going to probably incentivize people to travel by offering low-cost fares for a long period of time. Because of that, it's going to completely minimize the amount of profit that the company can get. Also, it means that many of these airline companies are highly leveraged. So long story short, they got a lot of money that they owe people. They have a lot of debt, and that can also factor into why it'll take a longer time for these companies to bounce back. And that's the reason why he decided to sell his position, his 10% stake in the big 4 American-based airline companies. Also, a really great point I want to mention is that he's not selling them because the company sucks. He's not selling it. He said that. He said these are great businesses. They're great CEOs. These are some of the criteria that he uses to determine whether or not a stock is worth purchasing or not. But he's saying because of this COVID, I don't think it's going to pop off. So the big question, you all, is exactly what does that mean for us? Does that mean that we sell as well? A lot of people do follow to a T what Warren Buffett decides to purchase. A lot of people follow to a T the information that he gives, the advice, myself included. But this one seems a bit controversial in many ways because it is a company that I feel, a sector that so many of us can't see ourselves being without. We can't see how people aren't going to travel and fly anymore, especially in the long term. At least that's what I think. But what does it mean? You guys, the answer, I think, is really depending on the type of investor that you are. Are you a bullish investor or a bearish investor? Bullish investors are just that. They're very bullish. Bull basically means that it's like buy, buy, buy. You buy no matter what. A bull market means that everyone's buying. The economy is booming. It's just very... Think of like a real bull. You're just out here. Usually people who are bullish are very risky investors. They will purchase something just because they think it's low, it'll grow. Maybe it's a very volatile stock. Oh, well, that's what a bullish investor is. Bearish, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. Think about a bear in hibernation. They are chilling. They're very cautious. They're not pressed. They ain't going nowhere, whatever. A bearish person is a person who's very risk averse. They don't want to be risky. They don't want to put too much money into the stock market. Or if they do, they invest in stocks that they know will perform well over time. A bearish market also is the same. Maybe the economy is slow. Maybe we're in a recession. Maybe they're being cautiously optimistic about purchasing. People are kind of selling. It's a little slow. Business is slow. That's what it means to be bearish. Are you that type of person? Are you that type of investor? Are you bullish or bearish? That will determine what you should do if you did hold positions in the stock market with the airline sector. If you're bullish, you're going to keep it. You're going to buy. You're probably going to buy more. You know it's going to be in the upswing. Maybe not in the next 3 to 5 years, but you know they'll be back. That's how you feel. You're very bullish. You're like, let's do it. F it. We're going to take a risk. There's no such thing as L's in the market. That's what you think. Yeah. But if you're bearish, like, I don't know. I think I may have to sell that one. I don't know. I'm a little scared, a little nervous. I don't think that's for me. That's if you're bearish. So guys, the answer to what to do is to assess the type of investor that you are. Are you bullish or bearish? And that will determine what would be best for you. All right, guys. I know this was super, a little high level, but I really hope I helped make it down to earth. And of course, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. Fun facts, guys. I am going to be doing a live on Friday the 8th. I want to say Henry the 8th, but I'm not. Anyway, Friday the 8th on stock market questions and answers. Any questions that you guys have, by all means, please come and I will answer them for you. I will also be doing... I'm also going to be talking about this on Instagram Live. So, of course, please, if you haven't already, please follow me at Stacks in the City so we can have a really fun chit chat about this and we can focus on next steps about what to do. I do have a wonderful ebook that I will put in the description box for you guys to discuss how to make your very first stock purchase. Guys, there are screenshots. We're talking the basics. So take a look at that. You all, I am always eternally grateful for how amazing that you all are and how supportive you've been on the journey. You all, we're in this together. You know, if I lose, y'all lose. And I don't lose. I'm telling you, I never lose. I may stumble a little bit, but Ashley Copeland doesn't lose. So you guys don't ever lose either. Y'all are amazing and fabulous. And I honestly cannot wait to talk to you guys really, really, really soon. Stay amazing, stay great, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye, y'all.